In 2016, you interviewed with the site LA Taco. I love that site, by the way. And they have a great Instagram. And you said that about Los Angeles, there's a taut tension here, which does not exist in any other city in the world. LA right now is experiencing a burst of radical creativity. Being in the media arts or other genres is an exciting time to be in Los Angeles. Now, this was in 2016.
Right.
So I'm wondering what the tension is that doesn't exist in other cities. And then if you can also talk about the creativity.
Yeah, it's hard to like find a name for it, but so look, I work a lot in Berlin. There's a tension there, but it's more, there's a lid on it, right? New York, there's a tension, but there's a feeling to LA that LA offers that no other city has, and when I say taut tension, it's not in a negative way. It's just that there's so many different cultures buttressed up against each other, you know, and we're understanding now that we need to not only coexist and cohabitate, but we need to get along to make our community safer and better and stronger. But also there's a lot of experimentation going on, whether it be at Cal Arts or Pasadena Arts Center. I just think that the generation of artists, the new generation of artists, they're really bored with everything old and that's been done. And I see a lot of radical trailblazers. You drive around LA and you see people making films or painting murals or taking photos or doing spoken word out in the public. These bursts of creativity, I feel like there's something smoldering beneath our feet in LA because we keep, and even physically, like I live in downtown LA, every month there's a new business open or a new building or some new construction. It just keeps changing and changing and changing. And I just feel like in LA, it's more like an open frontier, especially in terms of the media arts. The people are taking so many chances and trying new things, whereas I feel like cities like New York are more like stuck in old school New York, where they believe in the formality of cinema and the formality of arts, where LA, this is where experimentation is going on. And I think a lot of it comes from the tension. You drive down Venice Boulevard and you go through a high income neighborhood, then you go through Koreatown, then you go through a low income neighborhood, then you see Korean Americans, then Latinos, then African Americans, and then more white folks, and then to the beach where it's really white and uppity. But it's that tension, the combining of different people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different classes, that creates something really, really exciting, you know? And right now there's a lot of tension in downtown LA because, and when I ride down Skid Row, right, I am not able to reconcile what I see with what I was told America was by my parents or grandparents. The suffering, young mothers spoon feeding their kids baby food on the curb when it's raining outside. This is not America. I still cannot numb myself to that. But what's going on is LA wants all the homeless gone by the time the LA Olympics come in 2028. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? They're feeling pushed out, they're feeling expendable, and they're feeling unloved, and they're angry. And there's this really concentrated tension right now in downtown LA because the homeless people resent the people who have,
Sure.
and the haves resent the people who have not because there's some sanitation issues.
Sure.
But there's a real tension in downtown LA where you have the homeless people who have been there for generations, and you have this new influx of socially, economically, upwardly mobile people, and there's a clash. But there's got to be a way where if we can spend $3 billion on a rover to put on Mars, can't we figure out this homeless situation? How do we make this work? So there's so many, LA's changing every day, and that's what causes the tension. And there's so many competing needs.
Right.
But I would rather we look at what do we all have in common? We all want to love and be loved. We all want to have a roof over our head. We want to have enough money to put food on the tables and educate ourselves. Can we focus on those things? but there's a lot of tension right now in downtown LA. I'm actually glad to be in the middle of it, but I feel like Werner Herzog, he's a director.
Yeah, it's great.
He wrote an essay on LA, and he said LA is the most exciting place to be and will be the most exciting city to be in the world for the next 50 years because of this experimentation and taking chances. I don't know what it is exactly. I can't pinpoint it, but there's something exciting happening. There's this renaissance of new art. It's past postmodern. People are anxious to tell stories their way without being tied into the Hollywood substructure. And there's this new freedom to tell stories our way and make films our way without being tied into the Hollywood studio or Hollywood network system. Because you can shoot a film on a phone now. The freedom that gives you. You don't have to go to film school and rent a camera and get a grip and a gap. You can go out and make a film with the phone. That freedom allows a whole new bandwidth of cinematic creativity. And I'm really excited by it. Does that answer the question?
It does. Did you see the documentary City of Angels?
No.
It was about homeless in LA.
I heard of that,
I think
though.
it was narrated by Catherine Keener. Is it Kathleen Keener? Catherine Keener. It was excellent. And it's very sad, but just humanized all of them and told their stories, and yeah, that's all I have to say.
But see, they have their stories too, and here's my thing. I have a mentor who would say doesn't believe in organized religion, but he said, look, this is Earth, these are the people, and this is God. We're all connected. My feeling is this: so if there's a community that's suffering, like let's say the homeless people are really suffering, because they're compressing the size of Skid Row, and the population of Skid Row has almost doubled in the last 4 years. So you have more people in a smaller space competing for resources. So my argument is this: so if your hand is cut and you get gangrene, let's say you have a cut and it's infected, it affects your whole body, and you have to treat that hand, otherwise the infection is going to spread. So when there's a community that's suffering and is in pain and is not well, it affects all of us. They are part of the family of humanity. So some people may not perceive the homeless people and the mentally challenged people as an inconvenience and as unsanitary and as unwelcome, but they're still human beings. And if we don't take care of them, we all suffer. And I'm concerned because I don't know where these people are going to go when the LA Olympics come.
Well, I don't know how true this is, but I heard that during another LA Olympics, they just bust them to outskirts of LA that weren't as populated. Again, it's just a rumor, but yeah, I don't know what the easy answer is. I mean, I guess the problem is when people say, well, we offer them housing and they don't want it. And I understand, because there probably are some pretty strict rules with that. And maybe not everybody's meant to fit into a certain box, and
Right.
maybe it's too much for some of them who've been used to being so free. And I guess the hard part is that, the sanitation thing, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to offer just a public restroom. And that I realize then who's going to be paid to clean it and take care of that. I mean, Santa Monica has a public park that's great. It's clean. Everybody can use it, and they do an amazing job at keeping it clean. But yeah, I hear you on that one. It is hard, and I've seen a lot of people, not just homeless, but what they call rubber tramps or whatever, that are in their their RVs and stuff. There's a huge community of that.
I actually think there's a radical opportunity for us to lead them to a place of inclusion and belonging. Like, why couldn't someone come up with an idea where let's hire homeless youth and help them build these new Olympic facilities? If we're going to create a village for international athletes coming from every country from around the world, why couldn't we create a village for formerly homeless people to live in the village and just work on creating venues or putting art up around the city for the Olympics? Let's get them involved. Can we get them involved and create job opportunities and while they are working, can we teach them skills that will allow them to become employable after the Olympics leave, you know?
That's a good point.
But that's another tension because you can't, when you sweep something under the carpet, because LA wants everyone to think there are no homeless people here. Well, guess what? There are. You keep sweeping something under the carpet every day, it becomes this big mountain that people just trip over. And it's also a lie. It's facade. It's not real. So I'm hoping that the leaders of LA County and the city of LA figure out a way to solve this without pushing people out that really feel a sense of belonging in LA. I'm really hoping that they will be up for that challenge.
Even though you're from the Bay Area, but somehow you've found your belonging here in LA, which is interesting because I'm also from the Bay Area. And I know the Bay Area has a lot of negative thoughts about LA. Mm-hmm. I don't always see it in the reverse. I don't always see Angelinos like, oh, that Bay Area, they're so flighty and uppity and this and that. Maybe they say they don't, I don't know. But I don't see as much of reverse. So I just find it interesting that you've embraced LA, even though you're from the Bay Area.
Yeah, there's a bad stigma when it comes to people in Hollywood. Like my dad came to an event of mine, and a colleague of mine brought his girlfriend who's an actress, and they were at this party I threw after one of my screenings, and my colleague's girlfriend was very attracted. My dad was taking a picture of her because he just wanted a picture of her because he thought, oh, maybe she's a famous actress. And she looked at him and said, I didn't tell you could take a photo of me. I'm a SAG actress. Do you have my permission? Where's my release form?
Oh, wow.
You're nobody. You're nobody to me. And so my dad was really upset. And I went up to this woman. I said, you cannot talk to him like that. That's my dad. And she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, you should not talk to anyone like that. And I kicked her out of the party. I said, I don't want people like that who would treat not just my father, but anyone like that. And she went to meet me. But since then, my parents don't want to come back to see my screenings because of this. This is stuff like this happens, and it gets back to the Bay Area.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, we interviewed this couple, Mark and Elaine Zachary, and they said there's a good Hollywood and a bad Hollywood. And I think that that's the case. Maybe not so a lot of gray area, but I think that that's the case.
Yeah.
And it's trying to find those that are in the Hollywood that you want to belong to. And so, you know, it's different when you're making indie films because you kind of want to think, well, I'm not in Hollywood, but there is an industry sort of personality, and we're all fragile, and we're all like trying to get our message out there, trying to get our work out there. So that creates certain things. I get it. And but yeah, that's not a good story. But.
Yeah, there is a good and a bad side, but unfortunately, it really put a really distasteful. It was a very bad experience for my dad, and they're now not interested in coming down. When I have a film that comes out, I go up there to screen it for them because of that experience.
Well, what's interesting is that there's the argument of that Hollywood's morals are bad, and the messages that they put out. Okay, I agree with some of the films. When they try to do these like positive certain films, they might be too squeaky clean for some people to really relate to. So I feel like there's not enough of a middle ground with some of the. I get why Hollywood could be branded, not smut peddlers, but I mean, for lack of a better word, okay, or too cookie cutter. I guess there's not enough of a middle ground for the positive messages. It seems like it's too squeaky clean. It's not real.
But I do have a hard time relating. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but I do find difficulty relating to people who are in the industry because they want to be rich or famous. I want to tell stories, and I want people to feel something deep and profound. And my other hope is that, like in the work I do with incarcerated youth, to see how they shine. Like this is a segment of our population that is so misunderstood. I'm hoping that my films will help contribute to the elevation of a collective human consciousness about, wow, we're really the same. These kids aren't that bad. I messed up. I believe people deserve a second chance. I also believe that forgiveness is freedom. And I think people deserve a second chance.
What about these kids forgiving themselves, even if it wasn't their fault for something, whether it was just the family they were born into? Do you ever go into that?
Yeah, we do. You know, it's interesting because the youth typically make films based on their own personal or immediate history. And when they see scenes from their own personal lives played out on a big screen with an audience of 100 to 200 people, and people relating to their story and then getting an applause, I'm not a psychotherapist or psychoanalyst, but by making films about their immediate past, it renders the past unrepeatable. They gain perspective, like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I have two babies' mamas? Like, oh, I guess I wasn't thinking. And they begin to think critically about their own lives, and it helps them gain perspective on their lives. And we talk about, well, like the law of physics, to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. To every action you take, there's a consequence. So you have to slow down and think about what are the consequences of this. This is something I took up Zen meditation. So Zen meditation, and one thing I'm learning is not reacting when you sense conflict. You don't just react. You listen, and you be like that bamboo tree, which the roots go very deep, and the wood is so strong, termites can't eat, that bend with the wind, but never break, never break, never break. I talk about that with the youth and get them to think critically about their lives. So they do begin to, I always say, you know, if you spend most of your life regretting what you did, you're not going to actually be present in life, but they do get to that place after they see their films.